of Babylon. Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, BINAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Giving all honor, praise, and glory to the Most High God, King of the universe, Yehudah, for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Thanking the Most High God for all of your lives, and I pray that the Creator will continue to bless and keep each and every one of you. Early Shabbat Shalom to everyone out there. Praying that the Most High God will bless all of your endeavors, and I pray that the Most High God will continue to watch over you and keep you. Thanking the Most High God for the leader of our congregation, even my brother, Chief Prince Yeriel Ben Yissaskar. Praying that the Most High God will also continue to bless him and his family, his household, and the Most High God will watch over him and protect him. The Most High God be with all of us who listen on a weekly basis. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell right next to it so that anytime we upload a new video, you will be notified, a video from this channel. And also shortly after this is over, you could tune into the Zurishaddai channel where we discuss the Torah, listen to some music that's inspired and of praise to the Most High God. And you could go to Zurishaddai, that's Uzziel, Lewi, Lewi, right after this stream is over on your YouTube feed. So thank you all once again. I pray that the Most High God will continue to bless and keep you all. And today we'll be going to a portion Wayetzei. And for that, I'll be turning it over to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praise to the Supreme Tongue Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. The respects to the platform on the D.C.B channel platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Ben Yissaskar, to the host, Chief Rusa Health, to the Princess, Chief Kohanim, Rabbinate, Maureen, brothers and sisters, visitors to the channel. I greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers. Shalom Aleichem, my early Shabbat Shalom. And I'd like to start off with Adonai Sabtai, Takufi Agiti, Latheaka, O Lord, my mouth, and my lips shall declare the praise. I left off part about this at the blessing, a little bit at the blessing of Toldot. And before I go into why you say, which means then he goes out. For those, just in case you don't want to figure out where why you say is at. Why you say starts actually in 28th chapter, 10th verse of Masoretic text of Genesis, and it continues all the way over, until the end, to the 32nd chapter, and it ends at the 3rd verse. But also reading, and since it had a double hop Torah for this for why you say that particular sidra, but those that follow Ashkenazi custom, they'll be reading from the part of the prophecy of Hosea, which would be the 12th chapter, 13th verse, going on to the 14th chapter in the 10th verse. Those that follow a Sephardic custom will start from Hosea, same book of Hosea, but they'll start from the 11th chapter, 7th verse, and continue on to the 12th chapter, the 12th verse. So those who actually reading, because they both have two different dynamics in relationship to this particular sidra, and those points to the history of Israel, more so the Northern Kingdom at that time. So that being said, and I think for those that made their comics on the things, especially the thing on Thanksgiving, I understand everyone's position. I just laid out, that it wouldn't have been a violation especially if you was the host. That way everything was kashrut, within your household. So I just brought that out. But those that refrain from doing certain things, it says that use other days, then that's they're privileged to do so. But by the same token, there's nothing that you could condemn somebody else for if they observe those particular days. At the time that majority, the country and out, in other countries is observing it, and especially if you're the host and you say, okay, I'm gonna take this day here to give it hospitality to Abraham and bring people in and invite them into my household without pushing a sectarian viewpoint, because most of our holy days got something to do with strictly us. The only one we it leaves an invite for, which is kind of rough, which is the CHOKMAH, during that particular time, keeping the Passover. And they said, and then it makes the individual gotta go through a particular ritual type, right? Such as if it's a male to be circumcised, a female, she could come on in, but the male be circumcised. And it focused on the male because it was about men. So it became more sectarian, the firstborn males at that time. All right, so we left off last time talking about Rebecca having these twins, these boys growing up, and we know that we had the issue of that they're fighting in the wombs, and that when their child grew up, one parent loved one child, and another parent loved the other child. He only got two children, so it was a split love between the parents, as well as the split characters of the children themselves. So that is a unique thing in itself, being they both had the same mother and the same father. You can understand the feelings between mother Sarai and Hagar having different viewpoints, because even though the kids had the same father, you got two different women and two different offspring basically involved there. So but here you had the same mother, same father, and you come out the same womb. Pretty much, same time, not even a whole minute if you're talking about one guy holding on the other guy's heel. So this is something, be considered in that area there. All right. And then last time we was talking about was that, Esau, after he came from the field faint and weak, and the author described it, that when he sold his birthright, and that's where we left off at before, is that he despised the birthright and not the individual that caused him to sell it, and swear to it, and at that time. Now, as we go forward, before we go to the blessings, birthright and blessings are two different institutions. So we got to understand that birthright, and it's more clear in our way of life in the Tanakh, where birthright have to do more so with property, not necessarily with a blessing. In some ancient cultures, the birthright gave the guy an authority, almost like when the parents pass, he's the guy that everybody got to go to. He running things, he running everything. That's usually what the birthright was in some cultures, not every culture, but in some of the ancient cultures. The guy, he was the authority of the house. He was looked upon, like almost like a parent, so to speak, and over the estate and everything like that. But in our way of life, if you had, say, 5 children, and one of them is your firstborn, and say you had $100, then you got to figure out a way, divide that $100 up in 6 parts, because the firstborn supposed to get double what the rest of them get. So that's materialistic stuff. And we're going to, as we read, we're going to see certain things here that play out. Because earlier we had, different issues, that with sibling issues. So now we're going to find out a little bit different. And the reason I like to focus on and take a little more time in Genesis is because most of us is in Galut, in a diaspora or exile, so to speak, and we're people, that's mostly misplaced, well, out of place, I should say. And we're in a place that's not ours, but growing up around a culture that's basically not ours. And we have a lot of social problems in our communities because you got so much influence from outside communities. So let's look, into this family here. And there's nothing new about family problems and social issues and favoritisms and stuff like that going on. But these people we're reading about now, certain individuals in here are supposed to be our role models that we're supposed to learn from. Not every single thing that we're supposed to emulate, but we're supposed to learn and look at them and, emulate the righteous qualities that they have. So let's look further. I'm gonna pick it up from the 26th chapter of Genesis and go into the 34th verse. I just want to read this here verse here. The 26th chapter itself is about a famine in the land. Isaac wind up, being told by the Creator to stay and stay within the land, and He'll bless him sevenfold. So you read about Isaac, real first, encountering, and also you read about Isaac being blessed by the Creator after Abraham's death earlier. So, and yet, we know he had these children now at this particular time. These boys, they're just grown, and that he made a treaty with the Philistines. Yeah, which happened to be one of our major enemies that we never really ever got rid of the Philistines. And the Romans actually pretty much got rid of any leftover Philistines when they destroyed the temple in 70 CE. So that was the end of anything close to what we say the Philistine people. That was this. We know we had wars back and forth. David beat up a lot of them and stuff like that, but completely wiped them out. It was definitely completely wiped out by the time Rome had destroyed and destroyed the temple, the second temple, and also caused us to be dispersed. So this is who Isaac was become confederate with. Father made a covenant with. And and at that time, he had gotten certain revelation from the Creator as well at that time. And so we're gonna pick up the 34th verse, and it says, when Esau was 40 years old, he took to wife Judah, the daughter of Beri, the Hittite, and Basmath, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite, and they were bitterness of spirit unto Isaac and to Rebekah. Now that's how the 26th chapter ends in this book. Now, if Esau married at the age of 40, now he not only took one wife, but he took two wives. And if Esau is 40, that means Isaac is 100 years old at this point in time, because they was born when he was 60. So Isaac is 100 years old at this time when Esau married. And it's important to get an idea of how sometimes people will be closed-mouthed somewhat about your relationships. And it doesn't say why these women was a bitterness of spirit. We don't find any example. That was just enough. It just said they were a bitterness of spirit unto Isaac and to Rebekah. So you might want to discuss what made them so bitter, and more so Isaac, who Esau was real close to, and who Isaac actually loved Esau, And Isaac got married at 40. He broke patent. One patent he broke was that the father, Abraham, procured a wife for Isaac. But we don't know how Abraham, procured his wife. We just know they was related. That's it. But we don't know what, we'll say, Tarak said it's okay or not. We don't know anything about that. All right. So this is something to think about as you go forward. That this man is 40. He wait till he be 40. Isaac was married at 40. And Isaac was 100 years old already. And evidently they know the wise well. And it says a bitterness of spirit, of their spirit. So how could it be that bitter in their spirit? And we're going to find that Esau don't really know that. Sometimes people put on a front, they act like everything's okay. But Esau don't realize this at this time. And so now we bring to the 27th chapter of Genesis. And it came to pass when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not, see, he called Esau his elder son and said to him, my son. And he said unto him, here am I. And he said, behold, now I am old. I know not the day of my death. Now, therefore, take, I pray thee, thy weapon, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field and take me venison, and make me savory food, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul, and he used the word nephesh, which is interesting, my soul may be blessed. My soul may bless thee before I die. So before I go into the fifth verse of that particular chapter, we know hunting is not an easy job. We find out earlier in this same Sidra that one day he came from the field tired and weak. And I know it's a lot of different midrash for the reason why he came from the field that day, but I'm just saying, as we go with the text, I like to focus on the text when I talk to on a YouTube program with various people. But he come from the field weak. Now imagine father up in age, and he said, I need you to get your weapons and go out to the field and hunt me some venison and bring it back and prepare it that I may bless you. Now, he himself, he said, well, that's a dangerous job. There's no guarantee I'm going to come back. Do I have confidence in that? And Esau then say, well, I don't know about that right about now, because not only I'm not the same young guy when I came back from the field faint and hungry and weak, but I am a much older guy, and yet you're telling me to go out there like that. So we got to think and look at the whole scenario of what's going on at this particular time. And then I just said, well, if I eat that particular food, that wild game that you fix for me, that's going to put me in the mood to really bless you. So we got to ask these questions. What does my food got to do with you going to bless me? So you could always discuss those a little bit more and, and get different viewpoints on it as well. I just want to lay some of these things out like that as I go through it. And it says in the 5th verse, and Rebekah heard when Isaac spoke to Esau, his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it back. Now, she's around. She knew about the prophecy concerning when he said 2 manner of people in that womb, two nations, two nations shall be separated from their bowels. Talking about one people being stronger than the other, the elder should serve the younger. So with all that being said, and what I just said here earlier, and when the kids were struggling in her womb, that was been a placebo to make her feel comfortable. I don't know if y'all discussed that, but that's something to consider. But in nowhere in what we read that it said it was a blessing involved in that. Nowhere in there. Twins, I ain't never, two married people shall be separated from their bowels, and then you say one will be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. That's it. Don't tell you about a blessing. All right. It don't tell you who's technically a superior. It don't tell you about the intellect. It don't tell you about the spiritual mode. None of that stuff. So what did she see? And that she's in position to hear this, and monitoring this without even talking to her husband about that. So, and this is some years later that these children are grown. They already, Esau pretty much at this time have grandchildren. And yet, this is what's going on in the household of his parents. So let's go a little bit further and look at this here. And that's why I wanted to wait a little bit and bring out some points that you could further discuss. And it said in the 6th verse, and Rebekah spoke unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison and make me savory food that I may eat, and bless thee before the Lord before my death. Now therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, according to that which I command thee. Go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 kids of the goat, and I will make them savory food for thy father, such as he loveth, and thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, so that he may bless thee before his death. And Jacob said unto Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. All right, that's his first statement. His first concern is that we're different in body texture. My father peradventure will feel me, and I will seem to him as a marker, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son. Only hearken to my voice, and go fetch me them. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory food such as his father loveth. Before I go to the 15th verse. All right, now, 1, how do a person, like I said last time, choose one parent over another? In the system today, they say, well, which parent you rather live with? You rather live with your mother, or you rather live with your father? Now, it varies with age of intellect, because now, in this society here, a children is not mature enough to make certain decisions, but they're mature enough to make a decision at a more adolescent age, whether they want to live with their mother or whether they want to live with their father. In this society here, they could even divorce their parents, which is some of the strangest things. So now we have an issue here where we have one son, Rebekah loved him, and loved him so much that said, look, we're gonna fool my husband. So now you gotta say, well, does she really respect her husband or not? Will she think about him or not? So those areas there, it brings out a lot of issues when you start to look deep into the family thing. We tend to just read the text and say, okay, when it plays out, it plays out. But you got to also think about what's going on, within these people's mind. When it seems apparent right here that you have a split family relationship, not only between the children, but right now you have a split in viewpoints and destiny amongst the parents. So this is one of the serious matters to consider going forward. And when Jacob, says, brother, it's a hairy man, and he worried about a curse. All right. Then, and now the blessing, the 13th verse. The mother said unto him, upon me be thy curse, my son. Only hearken to my voice, and go fetch me them. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother. And his mother made savory food, such as father loved. And Rebekah took the choicest garments of Esau, her elder son, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. Now, and she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon the hands and upon the smooth of his neck. Just certain places she put that in. All right, before I go to the 17th verse, when you take something without somebody else's permission that belongs to somebody else, we normally call that stealing. That's what we normally call it. Now, I know, and I just want to, point out. I know a lot of viewpoints from a lot of my people around my circles and contemporaries will say, well, this is God, plan. God is in the plan. The Creator, when Abraham said, we're not the judge of the whole earth, do justly. We got to stop just there. We're not the judge of the whole earth, do justly. Then if we are trying to emulate a God-like quality, then we got to say, if you're taking somebody else's clothes or property without their permission, we can't even take a person's clothes for pledge beyond a day. In other words, when the sun go down, you got to return back their garment. That's in our law. That if somebody pledged that I'm a little short on this or whatever the case is, cash, and I got this nice jacket, coat. All right, I'm gonna pledge you my coat. And and I'm gonna see if I can get give it back. If he don't give you the money back at sundown, you supposed to have been gave him his coat back before sundown. And that's our law. So now you got somebody else's garment already that he didn't say you could have. He entrusted it with his mother at her house. So that's something to consider, that this is entrusted at his mother's house. And she gonna fix something that the father didn't ask for. And you don't mind if it was a curse to go on your mother, though your mother's concerned about you getting ahead, you ain't worried about her being hurt in the process. That seems, and some parents put their children in a bad spot like that, where it's become difficult to choose. It's almost like saying a parent is given an option by some hostile force and said, you got two sons. Which one you want me to kill? Because one of them got to die. So which one would you rather for me to slay? And I let the other one go free. No parent that's decent, God-fearing, should be able to make that kind of choice. And now, if these were little boys, that would be a choice that's too inadequate for them to make. But this is a grown man. Jacob is a grown man. And as I'm going to point out later on, at this time, he's close to 70. So it's almost 30 years since Esau had got married. Isaac, if Jacob is close to 70, Isaac, basically, if you say it was 69, 68, so Isaac himself is either 128 or 130. If Jacob's close to 70. And I do that by going backwards from the time when, when they're still before Pharaoh, and the ages and the time they spent from here and there, Haran. So when you look at that, this ain't no young individual These are senior citizens. And you know the mother's older than them, but we don't know how old she is, and her age is not given because it wasn't an issue where the manner of women has ceased with her. It was an issue where the manner of women ceased with Sarah. And hence her age is given about having a child, simply because the manner of women had been ceased with her. And to prove that she actually was able to have this child. So it's a big difference there. So let me just go a little bit further. And when we go down, let me see, 16th verse. And she put the skins of the goats upon the hands and upon the smooth of the neck. Okay, 17th verse. And she gave the savory food and the bread which she prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. And he came unto his father and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. Who art thou, my son? Now, you gotta say, well, who art thou, my son? You got to ask. Sometimes, and I, had, dealt with twins, in my teenage years, sisters was twins, and which gonna come up pretty much in the story when we get to a Wayetzei, is that I didn't know the sister had a twin. About a week or so later on, as a teenager, about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, I see him in the park where we were hanging out at. And it happened to be, she's sitting on the bench by the handball court with her sister. And I had to take a double look. Me and my cousins were taking a double look because neither one of us knew they was twins, and they sound very similar in voice, and one is slightly bigger than the other, and slight different tone difference. But at a quick look, you wouldn't know which one was which because it was identical twins. So you had to look really hard to say, well, which one is which, and like I said, most of them would have a similar voice. So anyway, he called him my son, but I guess, the question we could always debate on, which one of my sons? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according to all that has badest me. All right. All right. So in Hebrew, they don't have punctuation marks. They don't have commas or anything like that. So normally I always say, when it mentions that it depends on how you view the tonation and the question. Because Isaac already said, my son. And then he said, I am to your son. And then it's Esau, your firstborn. So I am. The am is to your son. And Esau, my firstborn, your firstborn. So, all right. So, Esau is your firstborn. So we think about the die. So, I discussed this with many people that, grammarians and stuff like that. And they usually come up with the same thing. It depends, we know what the intentions is, but it's a difference between a straight out lie and deception. Because a lot of times we're going to believe what we want in that area there. And so you can believe what you want in a certain area there, but you have a deception that's different than a straight out lie that's completely false. Because he definitely is Isaac's son. And Esau is definitely his firstborn. Now, how it's applied and how fast he said, whatever the case is, I'm not there. We're just reading the text. And when something's written down on paper, it leaves a lot of areas where you could discuss those areas there. And I've done according to all that has badest me. All right. So what part he did that he wanted? arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, all right, that thy soul may bless me. Now, venison is just any food that would taste gamey, you know what I mean? You know, savory meat. So when we think about venison, we just think about only the deer meat. But in antiquity, it's any, you know, have a broader sense of a meaning in there. And Isaac said unto his son, how is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, because the Lord thy God has sent me good speed. And Isaac said unto Jacob, come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. Obviously, Isaac finding something strange, you know, in this here situation, you know. So and just the very thing that Jacob feared, that his father would touch him, feel him, you know. So the very thing Jacob feared, he already knew that if I try to work this out the way my mother's talking about, then this could possibly happen. So it's almost, you know, I want to do the game. I want to be part of the game, but I'm worried about how this is going to play out and what's going to happen and what my father going to really, really think of me. So we go further. So so we got to take time and look at this here. And Jacob went near unto Isaac, his father, and he felt him, and said, the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. What do you mean about the voice? The sound could be almost identical, and people can make this sound any kind of way. But what it could be mean, you know, sometimes when you talk about the voice, it means like the words, like we talk about, you listen to the voice of your wife. You know, sometimes you're going to hear the words, but in some cases, where Abraham actually listened to words and voice, Adam listened to the voice, and here, Yitzchak hearing words that don't seem to fit with Esau's demeanor, you know. So you know, that's why he said, you know, this seemed like this something more like Jacob, not a guy that's out there in the rough, a warrior type guy. And because he'll be flexing his powers, so to speak. And as we go further, 23rd verse, it said, and he discerned him not, because of the hands were hairy as his brother Esau's hand. So he blessed him, and he said, art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. Why? You still have a little doubt. You know, I'm still having a little doubt. And he said, bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat, and he brought him wine and drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, come near now and kiss me, my son. And he came near and he kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him and said, so it wasn't even his raiment, but he smelled that. So this roots was really strong. See the smell of my son, it's the smell of the field, which the Lord hath blessed. So God give thee of the dew of heaven, of the fat, and of the fat places of the earth, and plenty of the corn and wine, and let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee, and be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curses thee, and blessed be everyone that blesses thee. All right. One, we got to figure out your blood. A lot of people say, well, if Esau would have got that blessing, Jacob would have had to bow down to him. I'm just going to bring this point up before I go into Wayetzei. A Kohen's job is actually to serve the people of Israel. He working and ministering before and going in the holy spots of the Creator, yes, and he didn't serve to the Creator, but his main job is serving on the behalf of the people, because the Levites was taken in the place of the firstborn of Israel. And the priests was taken, and there was a sister priest in order to do a worship service on behalf of the nation of Israel. So to be a servant is what Israelites going to be, period. You know, when they say a homeborn slave, that's a whole nother area when they're talking about that during the prophecy because of certain things we did. But when we talk about a servant, and we are a servant of the Most High God, what God needs us to do is be a light into the world. That's what the Creator wanted us to do, to be a light into the world. So this blessing here that Isaac intended for it to go to Esau, and you notice the latter part also said that one of the nations, it says, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Well, don't Rivkah only have one other son? That's Esau. She only had two sons. She never had a whole bunch of children. She had Jacob and Esau. So if you say your mother's sons bow down to you, that could imply, and I'm just bringing this out there, you could further discuss it with your various leaders and teachers, that Isaac's up in age. He said he don't know when he's going to die. We can safely attribute that Rivkah is healthy and vibrant at this particular time. And also that, she don't have no problems doing things and moving about quickly. So, and Isaac pretty much relegated to a particular location, in a tent. And if he passed on, Isaac ain't looking to have any more children through his wife, Rivkah. But suppose Rivkah remarried somebody and had children. She's still the mother of Jacob and Esau, but other children she's going to have that could be the offspring of some other man. So that's why it says your mother's children, your mother's sons bow down to you. He didn't say just my sons bowing down to you, your mother's son, which makes a big distinction when we look at it and take it slow and analyze those situations there. But I know a lot of people, being grown up as an Israelite myself and from a camp up in Nasik, I heard a lot of slanted viewpoints on a lot of issues in this particular portion. So I try my best, especially when I became, one of the senior teachers coming up in Nasik many years later, try to correct certain concepts and ideas, and not just be quick to make a judgment call on certain issues right here. All right. So that's why I always try to make it a practice to tell y'all to discuss them with your various teachers and leaders, because I heard a lot of stuff coming up myself. And so that's why I'm able to address certain issues, that I actually heard myself. And when we go down to the 30th verse, and it came to pass as soon as Isaac was made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce going from out the presence of Isaac, his father, that Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. And he also made savory food and brought it unto his father. And he said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son venison, that thy soul may bless me. All right. Now, what we're looking at here is that he had other clothes too. But usually some of his good clothes, he left at his mother's house. You figure he's married. He got a family. Why his best stuff is at mom's house? But anyway, that's another story to be discussed. And Isaac, his father, said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said, who then is he that have taken venison and brought it to me, and I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him, and yea, and he shall be blessed. Saying that ain't going to change. What I said, that's it. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceeding great and bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. Before I go to the 35th verse. Now, it's sad when a father can only have one blessing. And we know that a father don't really have one blessing, to give his children. He got each child have a unique blessing that he gave. Each child have a unique blessing they give. So we know later on Jacob had blessed his children, and some was didn't see much of a blessing, but he blessed but at the end they say he blessed them all. So now when we look at, he said, do you have he just asked for a blessing. He's not asking for material. He's not asking for some land. He just wants you to pronounce something good over me. That's what I want. I believe so firmly in that. I just want you to do that. So that brings a different light when you look at it and say, well, all he told Jacob was some words, and he left, and he felt good. How about that? Esau just wanted some words to be said from his father who he loved, and that loved him. And his father told him, look, the guy gonna be blessed. I can't change that. And the reason the guy gonna be blessed, because he also pronounced that anybody that cursed this guy will be cursed. Did he not bless his own son? Or bless that guy? So if he bless that guy, if he curse him, he's subject to curse himself. So it's like a rock in a hard place, so to speak. But let's go a little bit further, and that's why I wanted to take a little bit of time in dealing with the blessing part. And when we go further, it said, 34th verse. When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceeding great bitter cry, and he said to my father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, thy brother came with guile, and have taken away thy blessing. All right. Isaac didn't think it was good. He didn't think it was good at all. So when people think about God in the plan, and we don't, and if we think about Isaac being somewhat godly individual, a God-fearing individual, he was already afraid when he heard that this was Esau already. Then we got to know that what Jacob did was not correct. Period. I mean, and he have to pay for that measure for measure as we go forward. 36th verse. And he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? For he have supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he had taken away my blessing. All right. Now, that lets you know right here, birthright and blessing was understood as 2 different things. 2 different things, two different institutions. And that's why I said earlier that one is dealing with more so with property in our way of life, and the other one is a blessing. Is a whole nother area, whole nother institution. And Esau admitted, yeah, he got that part, but this is what I really want. We didn't bargain for that. We didn't settle for that. We settled for the other stuff, not for that. And so when you look at the dynamics of a deal, all right, you got this, but did you get? But I didn't throw that in the equation. That wasn't in the equation. And he admit that right here before his father. So that's something to consider. So, and he said, had thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I made him thy Lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what then shall I do for thee, my son? I'm saying, look, I can't top what I gave him. I thought it was you. So I can't top that, what I gave. Because I know your nature. And your nature is about the very field, things that's a little bit more tangible, a little bit more that you can acquire on your own merit and your own force. All right. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, of the fat places of the earth shall be thy dwelling, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and thou shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt break loose, that thou shalt thou shalt shake his yoke from off thy neck. All right. So now, and we find later on when we want to go past the land after we left Egypt, Esau said, look here, you can't even come by my neighborhood. You know what I mean? I'm coming out with my sword. So when it come down to that area there, he was blessed with that. And, sometimes if you just happen to be dwelling in a good spot, okay. It's almost like Manoah said, blessed be God, Lord God Hashem, and Yahweh should dwell in his tent. All right. If you're in the tent of a guy that's doing good, then you should be doing somewhat okay. But if a guy's oppressing, say you break his yoke, that means how can you break a man's yoke? Or why would you want to break a man's yoke unless the man start to deviate in character? So this is what Isaac's saying, that, all right, if he started to deviate, become oppressive, whatever the case is, not doing what is laudable before the all highest, then you're going to be able to overcome him, because he is no longer living according to what was planned by the Creator, because justice is divine in that sense. So as we get the 41st verse, and I'm going to rush through this here a little bit and then skip a little bit, and says, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. All right. This is the first time, the very first time that you read about that an actual brother hated another brother. Same mother, same father, same womb. First time you read about hate. Cain and Abel, you don't read about the word hate there involved. But here you read Esau hated Jacob, and he didn't hate him because of the birthright. He hated him because of the blessing. Now, this is where I got to live. This is what I got my future going to look like. Wherewith his father blessed him. All right. All right. Because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. All right. So the way Esau got blessed, that I got to live by a sword. Do I really want to live like that? Even though I got the skill, do I want to, most martial arts or warriors hate to go to war. They train for it. They become proficient in it, but they hate to go to war because they know what can be the outcome of war. So I just want to bring those different, paradigms in reference to Esau as we go forward, in the future. And it says, and Esau said in his heart, he didn't say this aloud. I don't know. Let the days of mourning for my father be at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And the words of Esau, her eldest son, were told to Rebekah. And he sent and she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau as touching thee does comfort himself, proposing to kill thee. We don't know how Rebekah found this information was in his heart. You could say he might have been mumbling to himself, whatever the case is. Somebody might have heard it, whatever it is. This is a mystery to to talk about as well. Now, therefore, my son, hearken to my voice and arise flee thou to Laban, my brother, to Haram, and tarry with him a few days, with him a period of time, until thy brother's fury turn away, until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget that which thou hast done to him. Then I will send and fetch thee from thence. Why should I be bereaved of you both in one day? Now, this is interesting. All right. One, you stay there for a while, and she says what you done to your brother, not what I was parcel to this action that you done to your brother. So we got to think about that and look at that good, because it's not just what Yaakov done, but what Rivka herself, Rebecca, did, and orchestrating this plan, and said, "What you done? He mad at you. He ain't got no beef with me. He got the beef with you." This is a real, soap opera type thing here going on right here in this book, and that's why my group, that I come up under, we like this, we love this so much, because there's so much stuff going on, and we even used to sit around and joke about certain issues in the book, coming up in our younger days. We didn't know much better at the time, but it's really a serious action going on. But what we find also is that Esau, hated his brother. First time you read about brothers hating anyone. And then also he gave the reason why he hated him, because of the blessing by which he was blessed him. So now we talking about what Esau received as a blessing. He didn't really care for that, And if you think it's about the blessing that Isaac gave for Jacob, then okay, you could think of it from that way. You can always discuss that area as well. But the thing is that, who wanted to say I got to live by my sword? Who wanted to say, well, one day I got to break a yoke that somebody got me really constricted? Because it said when you break the yoke off your neck, he said he got me harnessed like that. Especially when he come out with his hands on my heel at the time. So it's so much stuff in this here and impactful that you could discuss over and over with family values, and it would help everybody really pay more closer attention to home life and relationships in this area, going over this particular story. And then when we get she's done send him back. So he said a few days. For wow, we don't know how long, but this the first time, and I said it before many times, that you also have, as bad as we demonize Esau, he said, and as angry as Esau was, anyhow, like an animal that's wounded. So when you look at the Hebrew word for the way he cried out and whined, it's almost like an animal that's been injured in a life-threatening situation. So when we look at that, as we find that Esau is the first individual that we read about in history that set his own feelings aside for somebody else. Where Yaakov didn't mind his mother being cursed, Esau mind upsetting his father about what he's about to do to his brother. And so I can't do this. And like Pop said, he gonna be he getting ready to leave out of here, and mind you now, if Isaac's basically about 128 to 130 at this particular time, and I did pretty much the math for for it, that you figure you talking, if he's 130, you're talking 50 years later when Isaac leaves the scene. So Esau holding him back for a while, concerning this matter. And he well, let me just go ahead so I can go into the total though, because I want to just focus on a couple of points in a short moment. And in the 46th verse, and Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Het. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Het, such as these of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? All right. So we read earlier that they both was bitter because of the daughters of Het. And now she's using this to send Jacob away to a place that Isaac wasn't allowed to go to. You know? But she's telling him at first, as we read earlier, at first, the reason to go there, is to make sure that your brother anger calm down. That's the first reason we read up here. Now, as we get into the 28th chapter, and just before we go there, and Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padanaram, to the house of Bethuel, my mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. I go to the third verse. All right. So now it's under the pretense of now you go there and get a wife. Now Esau been married for a while with all these women, and did not. Abraham purchased a plot of land that gave him a pellet from the children of Het. So nobody obviously told Esau, the people of Het is not okay when Abraham was recognized as a prince, a god amongst them. And so, it seemed to be no problem at first, knowing that the land will go to them. They had to know the same history that God told Abraham about the land will go to their descendants. But to have those people there, with Abraham, didn't seem like a problem. So I got a wife from there. Isaac was told not to go because of a special reason, whatever the case is, but nobody told me that. And Abraham just got a wife for Isaac after the death of his mother. And they said, oh man, I need to go ahead and get this boy married. So there's a lot of different scenarios going on with this area there, and he had two wives and he got a bunch of kids at this time, and now in the third verse, and God Almighty bless thee and make thee fruitful and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a congregation of peoples, and give thee the blessing of Abraham to thee and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land of thy sojourners, which God gave unto Abraham. And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padanaram unto Laban, son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob and Esau's mother. That's something to say. All right, I'm just going to read this here real fast. I can go into Wayetzei. And now Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padanaram to take a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, he gave him charge, saying, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. All right. This is the first time Esau encountered this. And that Jacob hearkened to his father and his mother and was going to Padanaram. And Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father. So he went unto Ishmael and took unto the wives that he had Machalat, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nabael, to be his wife. He had to see that. So in other words, he didn't know that was the issue all this time. He didn't know that, And he said, well, I got to go get me a wife now. All right. So Isaac just sent him over there to get a wife. And Rebekah said, get a wife for them, over there, the particular woman, one of his daughters. But no such thing was ever made. And then now when we know Jacob was starting off in his journey as a senior citizen, a senior citizen. All right, so now Wayetzei, and I'm going to stop part way in Wayetzei, but I just want to focus on a couple of things in Wayetzei. Matter of fact, I'm going to have to stop in let's get part of the 20 up to the 29th. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went to Haran And he lighted upon a place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took one of the stones of the place and put it under his head and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder sat up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angel of God ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood beside him and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, thy father, and the God of Isaac. All right. Now, God usually associates itself with a living individual, but Isaac wasn't about to change at the stage and age he at right now. Let me just switch over here just for one moment. Get a Hebrew text on this particular portion here. 28. All right. One moment. All right. All right. Now, the word Nasik alai, that's the word that's used here. For God stood, beside him. But then I'm going to bring out this two elements here in this particular portion. One, this when the dream take place, and he's talking about it's a dream, and he fell asleep. Just before he was on his way out, but he fell asleep at this particular spot here. And actually, he's alone at this time, so it's a lot of things that bring out. So, well, if Isaac sent him to go to Laban, over the Haram, to get a wife, he knew how a wife was sent for him. So therefore, you will assume that Jacob would leave out laden with a bunch of stuff. No matter how much in a hurry, he laid out with a bunch of stuff, especially when Esau already said, that when his father, mourning for his father at hand, when after that, then he's going to slay his brother Esau, Jacob. Rivka, Rebecca, she and I waiting for that. She'll say, your father, your son, your brother want to kill you. That's it for what you did. So now there's a lot of things that's missing here. So it will stand to reason, and I just bring out, and this is one of the few times I like to bring out some midrashic views in reference to this here, is that Jacob was going on his way out. We know later on from history that he said he crossed the water with his staff in his hand. All right, we're going to read about the dream and what he says, and the vow he makes later on and within this portion, because I'm going to pretty much stop when I get to that part. But one of the things we must also take a careful look at is that though we find, that, Isaac sent them, it seemed like he should have had a caravan, some hosts, some servants. So one of the midrash comes up, and I'm going a little bit ahead of the vow, but I just want to do it now just to save time. Is that, and this is not in the text, like I said, it's a midrash, one of the stories, that one of Esau's sons, Eliphaz, was sent after to get Yaakov because he was leaving the land. He's not going to be there. So he could say, well, but Esau said, look, forget about waiting for my father. He's going to be outside, so anything can happen to him on the road, something like that. That's why a lot of times they talk about tepilat hadera, which means the traveling prayer in Hebrew, or the traveling prayer of the road. All right, literally. All right, so as I know, they say Eliphaz went after his uncle Jacob and caught up with him, and he was told to slay him. So, according to one of the midrash, if I'm quoting it correctly, is that Jacob said, why you want to slay me? He said, take my stuff. So Eliphaz, and it's supposed to be the same Eliphaz that was with, company of Eob later on, said, well, how could I disobey my father's command? And I really don't want to slay you because you are my uncle and my father's kinsman. So Jacob came with a solution. Well, you won't have to disobey completely your father's command, because if you take all my stuff and left me destitute of everything, it's like you slayed me. So Eliphaz went along with that. And I say that because sometimes later on, which we know that, I'm going ahead of the story at the very end, is that your father may forgive an individual for doing them wrong, but his descendants may not ever forgive him for doing them wrong. And we have a lot of things going on, like that, even to this very day. The descendants might say, well, I hate you for what you did to my forefathers. And sometimes we focus on that as well. I hate what, was done with the forefathers. But sometimes there's prayers to your forefathers, and which I passed by when I didn't speak about Isaac's confederacy with the Philistines, is that God extended Isaac mercy, and protection because of Abraham. And Abraham, at this time is dead. So when you go back over it, you can find that particular thing. I didn't touch on this time, just highlighting it, but it was in this. It was in the Sidra of Toldo, when he made the pact with the Philistines, that God had protected Isaac because of Abraham. So sometimes a parent's prayer, you don't realize how much sometimes your prayers, when you go to synagogue, your various places of worship, and you pray, for your family, your kids may not even know you pray for them. So your kids might even think you have them in mind sometimes. Or they just might say, oh, my mom and my pop is just praying. They pray regularly. I don't pray like they do, or whatever the case is. I don't go and attend like that. I'm not all that, in tune spiritually like they are, but it's because of sometimes their particular prayer keeps their offspring safe, because God looking out. You can earn certain merits even after you pass the scene. Like Solomon, David passed the scene already. And if it wasn't for David being who he was, and he had his faults, he had his goods, his highs, and his lows, but the Creator told Solomon, because of the sure mercies of your father David gone. All the mercies he didn't use up. Because of what Abraham had accomplished when Isaac made that pact with the Philistines, I said, look, all right, this is what I'm gonna do for you. And that's something to think about and make volumes. So now we get back to where we at here. After I highlight a little bit of that midrash about why, Jacob's laying down, and as we get into this dream, and it's the first time, Jacob's actually going to have an encounter. It says, and it's talking about a ladder, and it's talking about angels ascending and descending. So let's look at that just a little bit. All right, when we talk about angels ascending and descending, what we find here is that you think of angels coming down, not going up, and then coming down. You think of them coming down and going back up, as opposed to going up and then coming down. So this the only dream in scriptures that doesn't have no one no interpretation by scriptures. So you could come with a bunch of metaphors in relation to this particular dream. We don't know how many rounds on the ladder, and the word sulam is one of the words. I forgot the technical word. You have to forgive me. All your linguistic scholars could come up with that in English when they say a word might be only used one time in scriptures, and you don't see it any other time but that one time, like shatnez, and like the word sulam, which they use as a ladder. Now the ladder could be, we know what a ladder is, and it doesn't have any railings. It just, steps and you just go straight up. All right. And the thing is that it only say the ladder usually lean against stuff, But sometimes, you know, I mean, a ladder, you know, you don't have a ladder going to your second floor if you had the second floor or the third floor. And so, but usually lean a ladder against something. But if it's going up to heaven, you say, well, what is leaning on? It doesn't seem like it's leaning on anything. And then it could be steps. Steps have landings where at least you could take a pause here and there, you know, and it could be a ramp, which is an incline, which makes it a lot easier to go up, you know, a lot easier to come on down on a ramp. You know, some synagogues, most synagogues is like incline towards the bema part where the bema is up, where you might have to take steps going up the bema. But going towards it is, you know, they have an incline, you know, where it's easy to go down to the front of the synagogue or come out of a synagogue. You know, it's usually slanted like that. And you usually got to step up on the bema. But in any event, do angels need a ladder? And why is it a ladder? And why is that dream is not interpreted? And, you know, and why the word sulam is used? And we know that it's more difficult to climb a ladder or descend a ladder than it is to climb steps and descend the steps. And it's even easier to use a ramp. And, you know, so we're not sure what this actually is, you know, and we know that there's a lot of metaphors used behind it. But I'm just going to use one Kabbalistic metaphor in reference to it, you know, besides other stuff, you know, which I might spoke on in the past and speak on, you know, maybe as we finish Wayetzei before we go into the next sidra. One of the things is that you think about Kabbalistically, you got this thing called action. You got what they call, you have action, formation, creation, and emanation. It's almost like the world itself, the whole building up the universe. And they, you know, we don't know how many rounds of that is. Some people say, Kabbalistic, they focus on 4 rounds. Some people say it's 7 rounds. Some people in other societies will say it's 9 rounds. You know, those numbers are very, very significant. But I just want to keep it a little brief here. And they say the 4th round, we talk about action. Then you talk about, you know, formation, creation, and emanation. You know, in that sense, emanation, I should say. When we look, and those that go to, you know, say prayers, especially during the weekdays, but whether even if we don't do it on the weekdays, even on Shabbat, but during the weekdays, people might put on a tefillin, those that follow that kind of tradition, or they might put on a talif, you know, and most Israelites might, you know, that don't wear talifs might have just fringes, you know, on their garments. But anyway, if you're going to follow a particular custom, a rabbinic custom, all right, so at the minimum, you got the talif on. All right, the talif, you know, is when you say those blessings, and after that, the first thing is open up with blessings, then that's the first formulation of action in your prayers, you know, and then that covers all the way there until, you know, dealing with the Pekusei de Zemara, you know, Pekudei de Zemara, that's what it is, Pekudei de Zemara, Pekusei de Zemara, excuse me about that. All right, so that's the opening preliminary prayers that you will have. All right, so you got the blessings, the action, and the opening of preliminary prayers, you know, that you have there. And then when you get to the, you know, I mean, you know, the, you know, Pekudei de Zemara, like I said, that's the action part. Because you start off with blessings, because you don't put on a talif, then you start at Pekudei de Zemara, and then when you get to the part of the actual creation, you know, level, you have what they call the Yehudah, going into the Kriyat Shema, you know, the reading of this, the echoing Shema Yisrael and Eloheinu and Echad. All right, so you have the Yehudah portion of the prayer, and if you look at some of the prayer books that most people have, it has those little sections there. So you don't reach this particular point here, you know, in that area there. So now you don't reach the area of what they call, you know, creation in that area there. So remember, you're putting on the talif, that's the action. All right, with the blessings, you know what I mean? Then you got the formation. All right, now with the Yishtabak going to Kriyat Shema, you got the creation itself, Barah, like creation. All right, and then the latter part of the prayer, when you start to get into the main core of the prayer, going towards the end, it's called the Shemona Esrei, that particular prayer. And that's called emanation. That's your highest level of prayer that you do, you know, in the morning. And that's supposed to represent the emanations, the creation, and then action, and then formation. All right. All that stuff, just the reverse of God bring the world into creation. That's a Kabbalistic view for those. Now, another area that I would just say is, and I often say it's like Israel was at reached the highest point. It could be a representation of Mount Sinai. We got to our highest point in life when we was almost like angels, because we was able to hear the voice of God speak and live. You know, we became the most sanctified people at that particular time, and we refused to stay on that level. Then we decided to say, okay, we don't want to hear God speak no more. Moses, we'd rather hear you. So we left that level and started descending down. And yet all the time now we're trying to ascend back up to that level of holiness and sanctity. So that's basically what we try to work on as we go through life. In this way, try to get back up to the area of holiness and sanctity on the highest level of emulations. All right. So when we think about the angels itself, some say the angels come down, they have a certain territory boundary, and it goes from up to this land, this boundary line, and as far as they cross, then other angels come on and take accompany Yaakov the rest of the way. So I just want to finish reading this, and then I'm just going to stop on this particular area there. So bear with me, please. And it says, all right, in the 13th verse, and behold, the Lord stood beside him and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land wherein thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee, and in thy seed, shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee whithersoever thou goest, and will bring thee back into this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. And Jacob awake out of his sleep, and he said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not. Before I go to the 17th verse, all right, before I go to the 17th verse, what we're looking at here, and is that when do God have a locality that he can't go? When do God has a boundary line that's not, that can confine him? So the thing is, how do Jacob, knowing about Abraham, his grandfather, knowing about the God that Isaac served, could say, I do not, I didn't know God was in this place. And went to sleep, and had a dream and woke up. And he said, from the dream, I didn't realize God was in this place. All right. And then God spoke to him. And so you can have plenty of thoughts. I'm just going to leave something out so you could start, the discussion with. Is one of the things is this: only idol gods have locations. If you have an idol, wherever you put him, that's as far as he's gonna go. So, and people that had these other different gods, the moon, the sun, they have a location. That's it. That's as far as they're gonna go. They ain't gonna go too far their location. So when we talk about the God that created it all, heaven and earth, then what location is his? And we read, makom is another term we use for God in rabbinic literature, and that which means hamakom is the place. And so we say, well, where's the place? Sometimes we had the Shalosh Regalins, the place where God would cause his name to dwell. or place his name. That's a place for us later on became Jerusalem. That became the permanent spot. But that doesn't mean that, of course, that's a permanent spot for a worship that God is not all over where you can't worship him. And that's one of the things that is shocking. And this is Jacob's first experience with the Creator. And then why would you say, I know it not? Like God is limited. We don't serve a limited God. So then why would you say that? Could it possibly be, and I'm just leaving this up for you to further discuss it, is that if I know I did so much dirt, so much wrong, the last thing I want to encounter, and I'm on the run because of what I did, the last thing I want to talk about is having a God that deals with divine justice. I heard that from my grandfather, Abraham. So that's the last thing I'm thinking about. And I can't see God being with me, after all that, what I mean? And but the blessing was dropped on him from Isaac, and God confirmed the blessing that was dropped on him for Isaac, but it's the blessing that he was getting when he was going, the blessing of Abraham, that had to go to the son who was due for. So that means that Isaac already knew pretty much which son would get that particular blessing. That's why he told Jacob to come back so he could bless him before he could go. So if he said, what blessing can I give you? That blessing was already in the whole, the blessing of Abraham and the blessing of the land. It had to go to a particular individual. All right. The other blessing could have went either way. So now, at this time, the Creator confirming the blessing of Abraham upon him. Not confirming the acts that he did, because you're going to have to pay for all that. And we're going to see that later on, that he had to pay for everything that he did. And there's that. And that's, I just want to read this last little thing before we finish the 29th chapter. We'll finish it next week. And it says, 28th chapter up to the 29th verse. 29th, finish out this 28th chapter. All right. And so, and Jake, I'm sure I knew or not. And 17th verse. And he was afraid and said, how full of oil is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. Shirei Shemayim, the gates of heaven. All right. So, and Jacob rose up early in the morning and took the stone that he had put under his head and set up for a pillar and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of the place Bethel, but the name of the city was Luz at the first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, all right, so we know where, what was the original name of Bethel. All right, and he vowed a vow, saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come back to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. He vowed to now this ain't a conversation with God. This is a conversation to God. This is a vow that he bind himself to God. And this stone, which I have set up for a pillar, shall be God's house. And of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the 10th unto thee. That's how that ends right there. And that particular section, that ended Sidra, but that's what I'm focused on, that particular section. I'll pick up on the 29th next week and go into the next Sidra. But one of the things we gotta look at, why would he make a vow? Is God not his God now? And why would he ask for some of the basics? If he had the basics, then he wouldn't have to ask for bread. I got a caravan. What I'm wearing. I ain't got much clothes. It took most of my clothes. Maybe just got a loincloth or something. What I'm destitute about that. And how I'm living. I got a stone for a pillow. I don't even have a cushion. I don't even have an animal to rest my head up against. So when we look at all that, he's looking at a condition. That's why I shared that midrash, because he's looking at a condition that I shouldn't be leaving my father's house that destitute. And we read later on, he crossed over with a staff in his hand. Only thing he had was a walking stick. When he left, was a walking stick. How did I leave home with my father's permission and blessing without anything in my possession? That don't make any kind of logical sense at all. My father don't know I'm on the run. Only my mother and me know I got to get out of Dodge. You know, only they know. You know, Esau had to hear that I'm being sent over there for a wife, not that I'm trying to escape him. You know, so all this stuff here, it brings up a whole nother scenario as we go and continue into Wayetzei and then go to the next next week. So I hope you got something on what I said. Any mistakes been my own, and you can always leave your comments and support the D.C.B channel. And with that, I say Shalom Aleichem and Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. Thanking the Most High God for your life, and I pray that the Creator of heaven and earth will continue to be with you and bless you. Thank you all for tuning in, and I pray that the Most High God be with all of you.
Hold on, that's the princess back in the back, the little princess coffin?
No, that's my son.
Oh, you down here.
So thanking the Most High God for all of your lives, man. Everyone be blessed with a good Shabbat sleep. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, press the like button on the video, the thumbs up button, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that every time we upload something new, you'll be notified. So blessings to everyone. May the Most High God bless you all. Shalom, shalom. See you next week. Yah willing. Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah.